Welcome everybody to the WWE NXT live post show. Jeez, I'm already botching, guys, but no big deal. We're gonna do it tonight. We got Billy Davis joining us on the stream at Billy
Yo,
TKO on YouTube. Billy, tonight was the go home show for WWE NXT. We got a lot to talk about tonight, but
yes,
I
sir.
want to get your initial reaction overall from tonight's episode.
That was a really good episode. There were some things that I was iffy about, but overall, good show. Good show.
We'll definitely have to talk about the things that you felt iffy about.
Yeah.
Chat, what's up, everybody? You already know the drill. We're going to pull up your super chats. We're going to do a whole bunch of stuff tonight. We're going to make this interactive. So make sure you guys get your comments and questions. And if you're not a member on the channel, you guys could become a member today. Tons of emotes in the chat. I definitely want to see those. Definitely want to see you guys using them. Shout out to all the members. Shout out to everybody joining us today. Cedric, Todd, Justin, Zach. I see you guys all here already. So we appreciate that. Billy, tonight's NXT episode was the go home show.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
And interestingly enough, there is a lot that I can say about tonight's show. And more specifically, there's a lot that I can say that this show did for Deadline. Because
yeah.
as much as I enjoy NXT, I feel like the build to Deadline hasn't necessarily been bad. I would just say that it's kind of been a little anticlimactic, if that makes sense. Typically, NXT pay-per-view builds have like a really, really good build.
Yeah.
This one was kind of iffy, but I think today kind of like made up for that. And we already have a change for Deadline. So for those who may have missed it, Wesley announced that he is injured.
Sucks real bad.
Dude, I don't know. Like it's unfortunate because he really didn't look like he was in good shape. He was on the crutch. He was barely able to walk.
That one was tough.
Yeah, and then he obviously got emotional, which it just seemed very real, very it didn't seem like it was a work. And obviously WWE made the decision to they made the conscious decision to have Wesley withdraw from Deadline.
Yeah.
And instead taking his place will be Dragon Lee, which, by the way, very unfortunate news, but Dragon Lee versus Wesley, I can't see anybody complaining about that.
Yeah.
Just really unfortunate. What is like your initial reaction to that?
Seeing Wesley go down, it sucks, right? Because I think I said it last week. I'm a really big Wesley fan. He's one of the reasons that because we talked about it last week. I'm not the biggest NXT watcher, but he is one reason why I feel like I would tune in when I did. He's fun to watch. He's exciting. He's charismatic, but it sucks. But seeing Dragon Lee take the place, that's a thumbs up from me. I think there's no better guy than Dragon Lee, and obviously it kind of coincides with the story, right? Rey Mysterio, Dominic, it makes sense. It really does.
I love the Rey Mysterio thing, by the way, because I've always kind of questioned how do they get to Rey Mysterio versus Dom Mysterio for like the retirement for WrestleMania?
Do you think that's what it's going to be?
Hair versus career, I think, is definitely a possibility. Whether it happens this year or next year, I don't know.
Okay.
Obviously, Rey Mysterio right now is actually legitimately injured.
Right.
I do get the sense, though, like having Dom involved as NXT champion, North American champion, I should say, having him involved and then like having Rey Mysterio pop up every so often continues to further that story,
right,
without them
exactly.
being, on TV every single week. So
Right.
it is very interesting to see that, on TV. And again, like the news is so unfortunate with Wesley, but you're getting a great replacement match.
It's a really good replacement match.
And Dragon Lee's the shit, bro. But for Wesley, obviously, I just want to make this really clear. I'm a huge Wesley fan, just like you. I came up watching Wesley and the Rascals on TNA, Impact, and to see MSK be a thing in NXT, and then obviously Zach Wentz got dropped. I was really concerned about what they were going to do with Wesley. And damn, dude, this guy knocked it out of the park.
I
So
remember when everything happened, I was like, how are they going to push this guy as a singles guy? And it now looking back, I'm asking myself, why did I ever question it?
yeah. No,
Yeah.
100%. 100%. 100%. So much to talk about. We did get our first super chat. Shout out to Justin Kennington, $2 super chat. I wonder if WWE will pair Lash and Otis together. No, but we do have to talk about Lash Legend body slamming Otis because the Metaphor had a really good tag team match against the Alpha Academy.
It was really
Um,
good.
and Lash Legend, who she faced a lot of scrutiny coming into WWE. A lot of people looked at Lash Legend and people were saying, "Oh, she's too green. She's not ready for this." But her being involved and being with the Metaphor has done wonders for her. And the fact that she body slammed Otis, that's crazy, bro.
I think it's something to talk about. That's nuts.
Yeah, there's no pairing between Lash Legend and Otis, Justin. But I will say the idea of Lash Legend getting more TV time, more development, I look at her as somebody with a ton of potential. There's a very high ceiling. And I think this kind of segues into the women in general because, yet again, the WWE NXT Women's Division continues to be on fire and they continue to be a main focal point on this show.
That's one thing. So I'm gonna kind of chime in here a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, my thought process with the women, again, now kind of tuning in 2 weeks in a row, being able to see it. You're seeing how much they're being used. It's exciting. It's fun to watch. But there's one other thing that's kind of making me upset about it.
Tell me.
They're a little corny.
Explain.
Just it feels like they're trying too hard with the promos.
Oh, yeah. It's the
I
same
like
thing we were
some,
saying constantly. Yeah.
yeah. I think it's a little too cheesy. I'm like, man, this is some of it's good. Like Lash Legends, right? It feels natural with her.
Yeah.
Everything that she's doing, it felt natural. But I'll use Blair Davenport, or Kiana Jordan, right?
Kalani Jordan.
Kalani Jordan, excuse me. That's my apologies. But thinking about it like it just didn't feel natural. You know what I mean?
No, I get that. It's actually been it's been a thing that I've said a lot in the past. And um it's just the way segments are. Like, and we're definitely going to talk about Baron Corbin and Ilia Draganov, but like there's a sense of realness and like sincerity and like a little bit more authenticity in the way that they deliver their promos versus the other people. But we can't put all of them on the same type of platform pedestal, I should say. We shouldn't
Yeah.
put them all on the same pedestal as somebody on the main roster because for a lot of these women, they're new.
Right. Yeah. And you got to hold them to that.
Yeah, but I do agree that like the promo stuff is usually my biggest gripe because the in-ring action has been really good.
Mhm.
The storytelling has been really good. And there's just a lot of potential, you know what I'm saying? And obviously you're trying to get people in a situation where like they could deliver these promos and do it in a way that's believable.
Yep.
And you have to hone into your character and really embrace that character. And I think for some people it's a little bit more difficult than others. And
Yeah.
obviously that's going to be somewhat of a situation. But
Yeah. And I think over time, you'll start to see these people progress. I think it's just a right now situation. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
and we've seen progression. I mean, like Lash Legend was killing me today on the sit
It
down
was
segment
hilarious.
with Byron's
Byron.
Byron Sexton.
Yep.
Jeez. I thought that was funny, and then like my thing, like certain people have it a little bit better than others. Like Fallon Henley is somebody who I've been saying this since she was on AEW Dark, but like she is somebody who she kind of reminds me of Mickey James in a sense.
Yeah.
Um,
I get that. I get that feeling.
yeah, and her ability to speak into the mic is great. I think it's when people interact with each other, it just seems a little too overly scripted, a little too much.
Yeah.
And that's obviously kind of
little gripe.
My little gripe with it. Yeah. Thank you, Justin Kennington, for your super chat. We did get a new member on the channel, Curtis Lee. Shout out to you, Curtis, for becoming a level 2 member. Definitely appreciate that. If you're not on Discord, join Discord, and I will be happy to get you into VIP. Billy, speaking of promos,
Yeah.
Ilia Draganov, Baron Corbin, NXT deadline.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Talk about, we were saying a little bit about like how the build to deadline hasn't been the most incredible build. It's definitely a little bit more underwhelming compared to like previous NXT pay-per-views.
Right.
Tonight basically got the hype level. It broke the meter for me.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that more in totality a little bit. But I love Ilia Draganov and Baron Corbin.
I didn't think I would. But dude, I love it.
This man has really changed my perception of him. I was a huge Baron Corbin fan in his initial NXT run.
Okay.
And then Baron Corbin goes to the main roster. Loved it.
Yeah.
Initially. Baron Corbin then retires Kurt Angle. Hated it.
Mm-hmm.
Baron Corbin gets sent to NXT. He gets new theme songs. His attire changes.
Yep.
Burn the ships. Baron Corbin is my favorite variation of him.
Okay.
We get him in a feud with Ilia Draganov. And the build to this has been very good. But the thing that really struck me was tonight's promo and Baron Corbin bringing up Ilia Dragunov's family. Then you get this really weird turn of events when Ilia Dragunov hugs Baron Corbin. What is your reaction to that?
I popped because what I want to kind of go back to you talking about Baron Corbin and say how I feel like the reason why this is so good is because this feels like natural Baron Corbin.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like we're forcing Baron Corbin to be happy Corbin or, whatever. It feels like a natural version of him. So I enjoy it. But seeing Ilia just get so heated, I was telling you off stream just about how real he makes it feel.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Gunther. Obviously, those two have the history.
Yeah.
But that's my thing about pro wrestling that I love, right? Sports entertainment, pro wrestling, whatever you want to call it. It's when you can make me feel something. In Ilia, instantly, I just felt it. Talking about the dragon, that kind of stuff. I'm like, just you feel the blood boiling, dude. That's so good. That makes TV worth, it makes it worth watching TV. So big fan, excited for that match now. Like, I feel like I got to tune in.
I know this isn't a prediction stream, but I have to ask you, like, going into this match, do you think WWE gives it to Baron Corbin?
You can kind of go either way, right? If you want to keep Ilia with the belt, go ahead. But also, I kind of, fantasy booking wise, I'm like, oh, Ilia and Gunther on the main roster. That would be tough. That would
especially
be tough.
For the Intercontinental Championship.
Exactly. So I don't think it's a bad idea to drop it to Corbin. And I think Corbin, obviously he's down there rebuilding himself and he's doing really good, by the way. Baron Corbin is doing a great job at rebuilding himself. But I think if you put the belt on him, it's worth it. You know what I mean? You can get some good matches out of him.
David just put up an interesting comment. I actually really agree with this. We're going to ignore the Okada part because we're talking about NXT at the moment. But Dragunov versus Corbin will be the best match of both of their careers.
Whoa.
Now, that's a very interesting statement because Ilya Draganov has had some very remarkable matches.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think Ilya Dragunov and Baron Corbin are going to really change the fans' minds on NXT. I think it is going to be a very monumental main event match. And let me tell you why, Billy.
Yeah, go ahead.
Baron Corbin is a great worker.
Okay.
But when he was on the main roster under Vince McMahon, he didn't get to really...
Show his potential.
Yes. I've seen all the criticism on the IWC being like, oh, well, he's just kind of like Roman Reigns or Braun Strowman. He has a few good moves and that's it. I never agreed with that, especially because I've seen him in NXT before. But I do think when I see Ilya Dragunov wrestle, and we're talking about the authenticity and making it feel real and stuff like that, I feel like their styles are, strangely enough, going to be very good together.
Yeah, it's weird. I agree. I think you have a mesh of two worlds coming into one, and I think that's the possibility of making it good, having Ilya's realness behind, and then having Baron Corbin, who's obviously worked on the main roster. He's done the basic stuff, and I know the basic stuff, it's not so exciting, but I think when you put those two worlds together, right, the sports entertainment and the pro wrestling, you get what's going on TV right now.
Yeah. I'm going to say this, and this will probably sound stupid to a lot of people. But I actually want Baron Corbin to win the belt. I want Baron Corbin to win the belt for one main reason. There's a lot of guys who I feel like are ready to take the NXT championship away.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Ilia has to go up to the main roster.
That's what I'm saying.
There's another guy who I think should be going to the main roster.
Oh.
And he is the one that won the Last Chance Iron Survivor Challenge match. Tyler Bate, ladies and gentlemen, is headed to NXT Deadline. He's only going to be there to make that match even better because
he's exciting to watch.
I think SmackDown has been teasing it long enough. Pete Dunne being away from Ridge Holland and Sheamus. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're getting Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate as a tag team on SmackDown.
That's exciting. That's exciting.
And I think NXT Deadline is going to be very significant in the sense of who gets called up, who's going to remain. And if you have Ilya Dragunov going to Raw and you have Tyler Bate going to SmackDown, those are two very nice call-ups. 100%. Then you also have the Royal Rumble, and then you could have Braun Breaker in the Rumble. There's a variety of things, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Like, I really, really loved how WWE set up Deadline tonight because these guys have done a really good job of like having good matches and good storylines in the past. It's just the build hasn't been consistent. Not consistent. It just hasn't been as exciting. But then like today, it completely changed my mind to the point where I'm like, damn, bro. Like Tyler Bate's going to be in this match with Josh Briggs. And, Josh Briggs, I know you said earlier off stream, you're a fan of him.
Mm-hmm.
I like Josh Briggs with the tag team partner, when he's tagging with Brooks Jensen.
Yeah.
I like him and Brooks Jensen teaming together and Fallon Henley being all together as a group.
Right.
I don't know if Josh Briggs is going to be a phenomenal wrestler in this match, but you have Tyler Bate, you have Dijak, you have Josh Briggs, you have Trick Williams. I think these guys are going to do some really significant stuff at Deadline, and I think you'll kind of be able to tell where the story goes after this match because Dijak is somebody who I think could be also holding the NXT championship.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I think Tyler Bate can, you can make that argument for Tyler Bate, but also at the same time, Tyler Bate going to the main roster makes a lot of sense.
Sounds a lot better too.
Sounds a lot better at this time.
Right.
I think Dijak could easily go to the main roster, but I feel like when you're Baron Corbin and eventually you have to drop the belt to somebody, you could drop it to a guy like Dijak, and it doesn't necessarily hurt Baron Corbin.
Right, exactly. I agree because I think later on down the line, Dijak dropping it to him from Baron Corbin dropping it to him, Baron Corbin can just, go back to the main roster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So lot of great stuff in the chat. I definitely want to go topic to topic, but I do want to give a shout out to Denisha Lane, extending her membership for 10 months. 10 months with you. It's been amazing. Yes, Denisha wants to be a mod. Denisha, I will make that happen for tomorrow's stream. I can't make that happen right now, but I appreciate you celebrating this tremendous milestone. Thank you very much. Hannah Moore asked a question. She says, when is Cora Jade coming back? There was a QR code that appeared on WWE NXT.
Yeah.
I think that's Cora Jade's return. I think that's
So do I.
guys, I mean, look, WWE NXT's women's division, it's on fire. It's completely stacked. Tonight we got a lot of glimpses of that. Cora Jade should be on the main roster at some point. I think they're going to hold off on that right now because the women's division on SmackDown is busy. The women's division on Raw is pretty busy. Which, Billy, I want to talk about this for a second because
Okay,
I love Cora Jade. I love Roxanne Perez.
Yep.
I love Blair Davenport. I love Fallon Henley. I love Tiffany Stratton. I love Kalani Jordan. I love Jakara Jackson. I love a lot of these women who show up on TV and they progress every single week. And they look like they could be the next wave of talent going to the main roster.
Right.
Very similarly to the way that Charlotte, Becky, Bayley, Sasha, they all
went up. Yep.
So when I see the women's division on the main roster, Indy Hartwells, Tegan Knox, Candice LeRae's, all of those girls, right? They're just starting to get on TV. They're just starting to try to get over with the main roster. Until WWE is successful with getting those people over, I feel like you have to hold off on some of the women being called up.
Yeah.
You agree?
Yeah, I agree because of the fact that, like you just said, let's see where they go first.
Yeah.
And, like a Candice LeRae, for instance, who obviously is amazing, right? Let's let her get her shine. Let's see. And then we'll move on. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, right now, I agree. Keep these women because I really like Tiffany Stratton.
Yeah.
I think that's somebody who I see on the main roster.
Yeah.
And I see her succeeding very well. I think she's got the look. I think she's got the personality. I really think she's kind of like the whole package right now. But I don't see a place for her at this very moment.
That leads me to something though.
Okay, bring it on.
Blair Davenport.
I
love Blair Davenport, but that's because I remember a good time in wrestling when Blair Davenport used to wrestle outside of WWE.
Yeah.
When Blair Davenport was B. Priestley, I always looked at it as a big fumble that AEW couldn't keep
one up. They messed that one up.
Then I see her in NXT, and I'm like, okay, she came from NXT UK to America. I would love nothing more than for her to finally win the WWE NXT Women's Championship. So I'm hoping and I'm optimistic that Shawn Michaels understands what he has with Blair Davenport and decides to give her the belt after she wins the Iron Survival Challenge. She's got to win that. She's got to win that at deadline.
Yeah.
That's what I would like to see. If WWE doesn't put the belt around Blair Davenport, and we're talking about how these people have an issue, like right now the main roster is very busy.
Yeah.
At some point, is WWE failing the women's division for as good as it is? Am I wrong for thinking it's kind of a failure? Like,
no, I don't think so. I think there's not to say there's too many faces, right? Because there's never really too many faces.
Yeah.
But I think there's not enough room is more of the, word that I'm looking for. So when there's not enough room, you can only do so much with so many people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem with the women's division right now.
I am not Avery says Blair can easily be built to be a solid rival to Rhea.
I mean, I could see it.
I could see it too, but the problem is I would be very disheartened to see her lose to Rhea.
Yep, because she's going to have to. Right now.
Braun needs to get called up.
I feel like we've all been saying that for a really long time.
For a very long time. Since the days of him feuding with Dolph Ziggler, I feel like it's the first time.
Yeah, I feel like we've been saying Braun needs to get called up for like the longest time. I agree wholeheartedly. What are we waiting for? Do you have any answer to that? What we're possibly waiting for with Braun Breaker?
Main roster's too crowded, dog.
Is it? Put him on SmackDown.
Then what does he do on SmackDown?
I mean, there's no. The thing is you could find a place for him.
But what, Billy?
What's going on? I mean, I know it sounds messed up. The easy answer is you stick him with Kevin Owens and have him do something with Kevin Owens. I think that kind of
Singles feud?
a singles feud. Yeah, why not?
No,
Why not?
no.
Why not?
Billy.
Tell me why. Tell me why.
Tell you why. It's simple. Do you think Kevin Owens should be losing a feud to Braun Breaker?
Oh, you're thinking the rational here.
Yeah. Because here's the thing.
Go ahead.
No, man. Listen. Let me explain something to you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Braun Breaker is in a situation right now.
Yeah.
Where if he goes to the main roster, you don't want him losing.
Right.
And you don't want some of these guys on SmackDown to lose. Kevin Owens is getting like another chance to be a singles guy under Triple H's regime.
Yeah. Yep.
You also got to factor in there's other guys who have been called up that they're trying to put over. You got the Dragon Lees in the world. So you don't want Dragon Lee and Braun Breaker feuding on SmackDown because both guys can't really be affording those losses.
Right.
There's too many people on the main roster right now who can't afford to really lose.
So let me ask you this, right? Yeah. Number one, does Braun Breaker have to go up as a heel?
Does he have to?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want Braun Breaker to be a babyface.
But for the time being, to put him on the main roster?
You put him on the main roster as a babyface, people will reject him.
Okay. So eventually you're going to get the heel out of him.
Do you really want to start off sour, though?
No, not necessarily. But again, it goes back to Braun needs to get called up. What are we waiting for? We're saying a filled roster, but I feel like if you did bring him up as this baby face for the time being, maybe not Kevin Owens, right? Because that's heel work. But if you brought him in as a baby face, Austin Theory is an option. You know what I mean? Who could take a pinfall. Understandably so. Right now they're doing the tag team stuff, but these are just things and ideas that I feel like it's time to get Braun up there. I don't think you're missing a roster spot for Braun Breaker. You know what I mean?
I don't know. It's tough. I feel like just me and you having I know we're talking about NXT, but let's talk about this for a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
I can name 10 people off the top of my head right now that could be called up to the main roster.
Okay.
I could.
Yeah, there's a lot.
But also at the same time, too, on the main roster, there's a lot of things I'm enjoying. For one, I'm actually enjoying Logan Paul holding the U.S. Championship.
I like it a lot.
On Raw, I'm very much enjoying what they're doing with DIY and what they're doing with, Gunther and Imperium and Bronson Reed, who's also in the works of getting a big push, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I look at these two shows on the main roster and I'm starting to realize something.
Okay.
I'm starting to realize NXT, they might have to go away from the call-up system for a while.
You think so?
It's developmental, but it's a strong developmental brand.
It's a very strong. You get the TV time down there. I agree, right?
I want to know if WWE can get to the point where NXT could still be developmental while still being a legitimate third brand.
Well, they're going to the CW. I think we might find that out there. I think
it's tough.
I think you have potential to make it a third brand, while also keeping, that core factor of developmental, right?
Yeah.
I think they do a good job with it right now. There are some tweaks that I think you can make, but for the most part, I think they do a pretty decent job. It's just hard when, again, all the wrestling in the world is going on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So not everybody watches. And I don't think that's a show, because let's take it back to a time when there was a third brand, right?
Mhm.
And there was no NXT, and it was ECW,
Yeah.
and it was a shit show. Do
Yeah.
you remember that?
I don't even like being reminded of it because it was so ass.
Yeah. So, got to kind of ask ourselves that. Do we really want it to be a third brand?
So let me ask you though, if you're comparing the rosters between the two, which one do you think would be stronger standalone?
Now, 100%. Now, standalone, I think
Yeah.
this would be the best roster, especially going head up, at that time. But I know at that time, Kofi Kingston, Sheamus, like those guys don't really exist without that.
Yeah.
But I think right now, and the way, number one, they're athletes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
These men and women, they are pure athletes, and they're exciting to watch. So I think now you have this ability to create a third brand, but you have to do it correctly, and you don't do what you did then. You know what I mean?
This might sound crazy and I might get heat for this, but I almost feel like NXT has been developing talent a little too fast at a
Yeah.
time where WWE is not ready to call them up. And I feel like that could lead to a little bit of stagnance, to NXT being a little bit more stagnant. Um, I don't know, man. It's so strange because like I'm watching NXT tonight, and then I'm thinking about Carmelo Hayes and his storyline with Trick Williams, and off stream, and you were talking, but it's like I think by the time Stand and Deliver starts, Carmelo Hayes does the ultimate job and puts over Trick Williams.
Yeah. I agree.
And you know, I think that's April, early April.
Got some
So
time.
we got some time for that, but it just seems like the way that they're kind of going is Carmelo Hayes eventually getting called up. And just like the situation with Braun, it's almost like, okay, well, what exactly do you do? Because you don't want Carmelo Hayes going to the main roster and losing. And also one thing that I kind of want to mention,
Mhm.
I think people do forget this aspect of it all, but in WWE right now, there's guys not being used on the main roster.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
Cedric Alexander starting to get used finally,
Yep.
but I mean that's still relatively fresh. But Apollo Crews got back to the main roster. He got called up from NXT to the main roster, and they ain't done shit with him. Omos got drafted, as a free agent or whatever. He ain't done shit on the main roster.
No.
I think it's really clear how Triple H books the main roster versus Triple H, that there's just certain guys that are not going to get used. And unfortunately, people will either get released or their contracts won't get extended. And, it sucks because that means in order for people to get called up and actually get utilized,
Other
the
people
people who
have to
don't.
lose their job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That's a tough one.
It really is, man.
Yeah.
It really is. And obviously, I feel like right now with NXT, especially because the Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams stuff, if you guys didn't watch NXT tonight, the NXT Anonymous had leaked the footage of Carmelo Hayes being on his phone. And Carmelo Hayes allegedly was the one who texted Lexus King. Which we'll talk about that. But Billy, you love Lexus King.
I do, dude.
Talk to me about it.
Look at the beard. Look at the beard. Fear the beard. Fear the beard.
Wait, hold on. Where is that from? Is that the James Harden thing?
Yeah. Fear the beard. Yeah. Watching now, it's cool to see him in a very interesting storyline, right? It's cool that he's a part of it. I think having that person be kind of the middleman in between Trick and Carmelo, I think he's a perfect middleman, right? It's weird because I would have never expected this guy specifically to work, but he does. You know what I mean? He's playing into both of their egos, really, is what's happening. You know what I mean? And when you play into two egos, you have a winning situation.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen? Well, Lexus King may not actually win a match or anything like that, right? Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. If he does, you're now in Carmelo's head, right?
Yeah.
If you don't, you could still bite into, well, look, this happened, blah, blah, blah. I think he's the perfect person for it, is really what I'm saying.
I love Lexus King.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people will try to be like, oh, he's garbage, he's this, he's that,
I
but
don't see it.
I don't see that. Do I think this particular gimmick is going to work on the main roster? I think it'll definitely need tweaking. But what I love to see is guys go into NXT and kind of actually get an identity.
Yeah. Uh-huh. I
That's
think
that's
that's the
one
cool
thing.
thing. I think that's the cool thing about Lexus King.
But you mentioned the ego thing, bro, and I love the fact that you mentioned this, like getting into the head,
Mhm.
because the Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams thing, it's almost like Carmelo, he lost the last chance Iron Survivor Challenge match, right?
Yeah.
Clearly, he's not mentally focused,
No, because there's something going on up there.
and Lexus King is now kind of fucking with Trick Williams' head too. So in a weird way, like, yeah, we talked about WrestleMania week, Stand and Deliver, and it's kind of like one of those things where, in all sense of the word, like the call up stuff, like with Trick or Carmelo or whatever at Stand and Deliver, like that stuff can happen. But if you really want to use this Lexus King storyline, like you don't have to wait that long.
No, you really don't. You don't have to. I think it just depends what you want to do with Carmelo at the end of the day. You know what I mean? You don't have to wait till April to get this story through and through. You know what I mean? I think you could play it into the Royal Rumble. Maybe if they do something with the Elimination Chamber before then, I think
So
you got.
that's where I'm intrigued, because right now, as of now, there isn't a pay-per-view during Royal Rumble weekend.
Mhm.
And then there's not a pay-per-view technically during Elimination Chamber weekend, but the Valentine's
Day.
Massacre or whatever the hell they're
Yeah.
calling it, I forgot. But that pay-per-view was just announced, and that's in February.
Hmm.
That's a long time.
I think you got enough time to get there. Would you agree?
Yeah, but would it be too much time?
It depends how you tell the story, right? If you if you play the long game with
Yeah.
Trick Williams and Carmelo and continue to let this stretch out, I
Yeah.
think you can get there, right? But don't stretch it out to the point to where we're now like, okay, we know. You know what I mean? Make me think, right? And I think recently in WWE, I think we can all agree that the TV has made us think, right?
Yeah.
So I think if you do that and you get to a point to where everything makes sense, it's coinciding with one, yeah, why not? I don't think it's too much time.
I like Lexus King a lot. I like the fact he has an identity. I feel like this dude is going to be a stud. I think
Yeah.
his gimmick will need to be tweaked a little bit. I think he'll have to have some higher profile matches. So I'm definitely interested in seeing the way it goes, and
I
the way
think
that
this is a great first major program for him.
I mean, it shows you how much they believed in the guy.
Right, exactly.
They didn't really waste time, bro. The dude left AEW, got into WWE, and it was relatively fast, obviously with Halloween Havoc. But it's crazy, right? Halloween Havoc was in October,
Yeah.
and now it's December 5th. So it's not like everything has necessarily been rushed,
Mhm.
but it's interesting.
It is. It's super interesting.
I say it's interesting too, Billy, because one thing that a lot of people need to factor in with NXT is there's a lot of things going on in NXT. And that was evident tonight. Like Axiom and Nathan Frazier announced for the kickoff show. The women, Lola Vice has the women's breakout tournament contract thing.
Yep.
She's doing stuff with, she beat Tatum Paxley tonight.
Yeah.
Obviously there's a lot there in terms of like, there's just so much going on. I don't know if that's problematic or if it's like a really good thing for them,
Yeah.
because if there's a lot of things going on, you don't necessarily need to have a quick payoff, I guess.
Yeah.
But just something to pay attention to. I think that's why I'm so intrigued. There's just so much stuff going on, and
It
everything
feels
pretty much.
very fast, right?
Yes.
It feels very fast paced. Like that 2 hours, it flies by.
I think NXT is probably the most well-paced 2-hour show in wrestling.
100%. 100%. Now watching 2 weeks straight and now kind of starting to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah. The pace of that show is really good.
It just feels like there's so much shit getting done, and like it's really effective. The efficiency that Shawn Michaels has with the booking and stuff,
Yeah.
it's obviously good. And then Richard Martinez dropped a $2 super chat, and he says Mello versus Lexus at Deadline. I think Lexus wins. So let's talk about that. Here's the thing, right? We talk about Lexus King and having that major story. Obviously, the story that's far greater than Lexus King is the eventual Carmelo versus Trick Williams.
Right.
How do we get Carmelo Hayes versus Trick Williams, and how do we get Lexus King to win at Deadline? So I think it's pretty obvious Trick Williams has to cost Carmelo the match.
Yep. I think that's so. Hold on. That's a very bad guy move of Trick Williams. Yeah.
But is it really when you think about it? Because it looks like he got set up by Carmelo.
Right.
We don't know just yet, but it looks like he got set up by Carmelo. It hasn't technically been confirmed, but Lexus King is putting stuff into their heads. He's fucking with them hardcore now.
Yeah, so that's my thing, right? Wouldn't that make Trick Williams the bad guy? Not necessarily, but make him the bad guy in the sense of you let this guy get into your head so much that you feel like you had to attack me.
What if Carmelo really did do it, though?
If he did do it, then, it makes sense, right? It's not a bad guy move, but what if he didn't?
Okay, now let me ask you this. What if Trick Williams finally comes to his senses and realizes that Carmelo is actually clean? And he helps Carmelo Hayes defeat Lexus King.
Okay.
I mean, I guess it's a little bit logical for Lexus to lose that match if Trick Williams is the reason he lost.
Yeah, I'd agree.
But also, you have to factor in Lexus King having a singles match, right? Lexus King having a singles match with Carmelo. Maybe Carmelo really, really wants Trick Williams in his corner, but Trick Williams is like, fuck all that noise because he's got that Iron Survivor Challenge.
Yep. I could see that. I could see that making a lot of sense. I do think Lexus winning the match makes the most sense. Just to get to the bigger picture. I think that's what we're actually going to head to. And Lexus could use the win.
What I would really love to see, this is going to dive too long into it. I would love to see Lexus King win clean on Carmelo Hayes.
Because
again, he's just already in Carmelo's head. Carmelo, whatever's going on here, Carmelo's not clearly focused. Lexus King wins.
Mm-hmm.
You could do a post-match angle of some kind, and then I would actually say, let's get Lexus King away from this as quick as possible.
Yeah.
And let's have Lexus King go on to feud for the North American Championship.
Yep. And I think that's why you give it to Dragon Lee, but that's a whole nother topic.
I'm sorry, bud. I'm sorry. I can't. So here's the thing. I love Dragon Lee. Let's talk about that. Richard Martinez, thank you for the $2 super chat. Appreciate it. Guys, if you want your questions, comments guaranteed to be read on the stream, make sure you guys drop a super chat. Or you could donate on ango.live if you're watching us live on X. Billy, Dragon Lee versus Dominic Mysterio is happening at Deadline.
Yes, it is.
I love Dragon Lee. I love what they're doing with him on the main roster.
Yep, me too.
I love this replacement match.
I think it's a perfect one.
I love it. I love it as much as I love Lola Vice. But I got to ask you, bro.
Yeah.
Dragon Lee, does he have to win this match?
No, he doesn't have to.
Wrong. He has to.
Why do you think he has to?
I cannot have Dragon Lee lose another match for the North American Championship.
Yeah, that makes sense. At the same time, though, I also get, it depends where you go with the Judgment Day story. Dom losing that belt would be, it continues the story, too. Well, everybody's got a belt but Dom, and now Mommy's mad.
Rey Mysterio will be in attendance at Deadline.
Yep. He'll be there in his corner, Dragon Lee's corner.
How do you have Dragon Lee win the North American Championship? Well, no, that's easy. You just have him beat Dominic Mysterio. That's easy. That's a dumb question.
Okay.
How do you have Dragon Lee drop the belt? Because you can have Dragon Lee show up with the North American Championship on SmackDown as well.
Yeah.
Which it's just going to make him look great, honestly.
You're right. I mean, they were doing it with Dom and him being on Raw. It makes sense.
Yeah. So who like I want Lexus King to eventually become North American champion.
Yeah, but you don't have him drop it to him right away.
I wouldn't want Dragon Lee getting defeated by Lexus King.
Right, exactly. Who is a good person to have? I got a couple names in mind.
Okay. I just go ahead and say those names. I'm going to throw this comment up on the screen and we're going to address it after. Continue.
Weirdly enough, weirdly enough, a name that pops in my head who I think eventually could use the run. Call me crazy. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. But there's two names. Nathan Frasier and Axiom. I think those are two good names that come to mind.
Dave Meltzer about to go on his blog. He about to start typing, bro. He about to be like 10 stars right there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. 100%.
Dragon Lee versus Nathan Frazier. Dragon Lee versus Axiom. I think those are incredible.
Yeah.
Liam had a great comment. He said, watch out for Santos. And I think that right there actually just cemented it.
I didn't even think about it.
Not to win the championship.
No, I know. To be at deadline.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Liam, congratulations, bro. Kudos to you.
That's a good man.
Yeah. I'm going to actually one-up Liam Oliver here.
Mm-hmm.
Santos gets involved, but he ain't by himself. Angel Garza, Humberto Carrillo. They join with Santos Escobar. They take out Dragon Lee. The feud then carries over from Deadline to SmackDown next week.
Dom keeps the belt.
Yeah. That solves the problem of not having somebody defeating Dragon Lee.
Right, exactly.
I just like the idea of Dragon Lee carrying the belt, but I think deep down inside, the reality here
is it plays into the story on the main roster.
Yeah. And I love when WWE does that with NXT. We saw that last week with Ivar and Bronson Reed.
Yeah. You do have to think this is the only December PLE too. So they're going to try and get some main roster guys in there.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said. I feel like it's so crazy how good the North American Division Championship could actually be, like the roster and everything. It's so stacked because Lexus King could be the one to defeat Dominic Mysterio.
Yeah.
But I don't think that would also be the case because Lexus King, just like Dominic Mysterio, both hate their fathers. What's up with this shit in wrestling where everybody hates their dad, bro?
Dude, don't get me started. Don't get me started with that. Christian ruined it. The whole really dad thing just really went down the hill when he started talking about it. Yeah, no, it's wild. Oh,
crazy, man. Everybody hates their pops.
Man.
Everybody hates their pops, bro. And it's unfortunate. And everybody got problems, bro. I swear. Like dude. Lexus King and Dominic, it could make sense from a feud perspective, but it also doesn't make sense because they both hate their dads.
Right, exactly. They'd be best friends.
Then you also got to factor in, we mentioned the Santos Escobar thing.
Yeah.
When Rey Mysterio comes back, that probably delays the Rey Mysterio Dominic retirement thing for a year.
And I think if you want to do that, you can. I don't think we need Dominic and Rey because we got it last year at WrestleMania. You know what I mean? I don't think you need it this year. Let it be like the slow of slow burns. You know what I'm saying? I genuinely don't think you need it this year at WrestleMania. But that's just my personal take on it.
Interesting.
I think we have enough dream matches getting ready to come up. I don't think you need that right now.
Yeah.
I think you give Dom a different match at WrestleMania because I seen a tweet earlier. He's wrestled 100 times in 2023.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like he deserves a match not against his dad. I think he's a good person for the Money in the Bank match. This is a whole different topic for another time, but thought process there.
It's funny because in NXT right now, I kind of see the direction that they're going with certain things, and then with certain things, I can't really see the direction. Like clearly with the women's division, Tatum Paxley and Lyra Valkyria, there's something interesting happening there.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of self-explainable if you're watching. I think, you're looking at the Carmelo trick and Lexus King thing. You could kind of see that. And then, of course, you could factor in, with the Alpha Academy metaphor.
Yep. You got some stuff going there.
There's a lot of
question
stuff there.
for you.
Hit me, brother.
Nikita Lyons. She returned tonight.
I love Nikita Lyons.
Yeah.
Big fan. This guy, big fan of Nikita Lyons.
We talked about Blair Davenport earlier and how we feel like, maybe she should be touching the belt.
Yeah.
Now with Nikita Lyons back, I feel like that doesn't happen. Not right now. I think she goes into that feud with Nikita.
Yeah.
So I want to know your take on that.
I love Nikita Lyons. I think she's got a lot of potential. When she first came into NXT 2.0, I thought it was pretty damn clear. Shawn Michaels loved her as well. I think WWE wanted Nikita Lyons to be champion, and then obviously the injuries and stuff like that caught up.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is back at that time when Nikita Lyons was on TV, there wasn't that many people where I can confidently say, hey, this person could be the women's champion.
Yeah.
Now in 2023, December 5th, here we are talking about Cora Jade, Roxanne Perez, Tiffany Stratton, Fallon Henley,
all these names that
Lyra Valkyria, Blair Davenport. There's a plethora of women now that could be women's champion.
Yeah, I mean, you see the names and how big they are. It is insane because I think Tiffany Stratton is just one that comes to I know she's held the belt already, but I think she's a good name for it.
Yeah, it's just it's super stacked. So I don't know the route that they choose to go with that.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be honest with you, and I want to throw this up too because Cedric made a good point. Lola Vice. It's very clear WWE is high on Lola Vice.
You could tell she won tonight.
Valerie Lareda, former Bellator fighter in WWE. She was the breakout star tournament winner. She's making it very clear she's going for the belt. I think WWE loves her. I think there's a lot of good publicity they can get from her winning the belt, so I could see that going down as well. I don't know if Blair Davenport ever gets the women's championship.
Yeah,
I think Blair might just get called up or some shit.
Yeah, when you factor in the fact that Nikita Lyons is back and you have that feud that you're about to run because that's the way they're going to go, I don't think she's touching that belt.
Or NXT Europe launches next year and Blair Davenport goes back to Europe.
Yep, that makes sense.
And she spearheads the division out there, which that could make a lot of sense too. But Nikita Lyons has like that martial art. I don't know if it's martial art or whatever it was, but she always kicking and doing karate and shit in her promos, and she,
I thought that could be a jiu-jitsu thing.
Jiu-jitsu, maybe she does jiu-jitsu. I don't know. She does some sort of combat shit. But with Nikita Lyons, like, I think long term they might be building Nikita Lyons and Lola Vice for the women's championship.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad move either. Like you said, the publicity thing.
Yeah.
I think Nikita, realistically, I know people will probably hurt me in the comments, but she's a great face for NXT.
Who is? Say that again.
Nikita Lyons. I think that's a good person to have to promote your brand.
She is, bro. The fans love her.
Yeah. Easy to get behind. Easy to get behind.
You guys' comments are very funny, but I cannot put them on here, just so you guys know. Just saying. Just saying. I have to make that clear. I gotta be professional here. Hannah Moore brought up something interesting. I want to talk about this tonight as well. She says, do we know the contenders for the men's breakout tournament? I see the recent signed boys being in there. Yes, we know a few of these people. They dropped the video package announcing all of the people. I'll be honest with you. A lot of these people are newly signed talent.
Yeah, you could tell.
they have Luca Crucifino, I think is how his last name is pronounced. He's the guy that plays the lawyer. We've seen him just a little bit on NXT this past year.
He's the one that I popped for.
Yeah, Miles Bourne is on there as well. We've seen him just a little bit. We saw Obafemi, who was just there recently, just a little bit. Tavion Heights, I think was his name.
Yeah, it was.
Don't know that name. I'm not too familiar with this guy. He was on like NXT Level Up or something. I'm not too familiar with him, but there was a couple other guys. There was a guy, I think Trey Bearhill, who, by the way, he had a really cool presentation about him. It was like really like aggressive and he had like some face paint and shit.
Hitting his chest.
Yeah, he was crazy, but the name kind of like, whoa.
Yeah.
Somebody in that name change department definitely fucked up right there. Because I don't know, Trey Bearhill.
Yeah, I don't know who came up with that one.
I don't know who came up with that shit, but whoever did, probably, you know.
I'm gonna keep it hot with you. I love the lawyer. I think that is hilarious.
Yeah, he lawyer gimmicks in wrestling are cool.
Yeah.
I really like Mark Sterling, smart Mark Sterling in AEW.
Uh-huh.
So
it's an easy gimmick to get behind and just laugh at.
Yeah. I will say this. They have this whole breakouts tournament. Some of these guys will be staples in NXT for years to come. Some of these guys will probably not.
And that's the sad truth behind it.
Yeah, you could tell some of these people they get on TV. This happens a lot with NXT. There's a lot of inexperienced guys, a lot of new guys. Some guys are there because they're trying to make a career out of this. And I think some guys are there because they were offered an NIL deal and they were offered one of those like, hey, we're going to take you out of college and we're going to put you in WWE type of thing. Like, they tried another sport or whatever. They didn't necessarily make it there. WWE's the fallback plan.
Braun Breaker is the perfect example of that and it working.
And Roman Reigns.
Yeah, Roman.
For some people they make it work and some people don't.
Right.
What I'm curious about with this tournament is who they really believe in here.
Yeah, who are they high on here?
I think it's got to be Obafemi.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'd agree.
He a beast, bro.
He looks like it.
He a beast.
He looks like it.
When he first got looked at on NXT, that dude was like.
And he's done some stuff on Level Up, hasn't he?
Yeah, so he did some stuff on NXT as well. No major programs or anything. He did like a squash match several months ago or maybe a year ago, whenever it was.
Mm-hmm.
NXT Level Up. I mean, these guys have been on there, Some of these guys work as extra security or whatever for the pull-apart brawls.
Yeah.
But Obafemi is like the one where I think like everybody in unison who's watched
he stood out the most.
He stood out to everybody when he was on TV, and now when you see him in the tournament, people are like, oh, he's a beast. Like, he's that guy.
Right.
It's interesting.
It's very interesting.
It's cool, man, because the breakout tournament, like, this is legitimately a breakout tournament, by the way. This is like, hey, like, if you win this, like, WWE about to push you, bro.
Right, exactly, because you get the little contract and whatnot. Like I was telling you off stream, it reminds me of the Option C stuff.
Yeah, I mean, look at Lola Vice.
Yeah,
she's going to be able to cash it in, and there's a chance that and I like Lyra Valkyria a lot.
Yeah,
I really do. I think she's awesome, but she had that match with Xia Li or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
She had like that little program. There's not really a clear direction for her as champion.
Yeah,
it's kind of an underwhelming run, but it's almost like it's not her fault. It's WWE, like NXT really not having a plan there. I don't know. But to me, it feels more like more of a transitional championship reign.
Yeah.
So I'm curious if they do have Lola Vice steal
the belt.
The belt, yeah.
I don't think it's a bad idea.
And it never makes Lyra Valkyria look bad because
exactly. She held the belt number one, right? It doesn't make her look bad at all. Having Lola Vice cash in, though, I think you talked about it earlier. Just kind of for promotional, quote unquote, purposes. I don't think it's a bad move.
I mean, Lola Vice be holding the contract. She on jet skis, posting on IG.
Yeah.
She takes a lot of pride with what she's doing, and
there you go. There's your answer. That's why you put the belt on her. That's why you put the belt on her.
People like her a lot,
mm-hmm.
And I think there's a lot of potential there. But again, it goes back to what I was saying. It's like it's so stacked of a roster where anybody could hold a championship.
Yeah.
And this is one of those times. And Big MGM actually points this out. He says it feels like Becky kind of handpicked Lyra to take the strap without an actual plan for after.
Yeah.
And it does feel that way a little bit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's where I'm like, okay, like I like Lyra Valkyria a lot. Like I think she's gonna be great on the main roster.
Yeah.
But at the same time, too, it's like, okay, what's the direction here?
Yeah. Where are we going with it? That's why I think we play back into it's not a bad idea if she loses the strap. You know what I mean? It's not a bad idea.
Lyra Valkyria says she's gonna be there on Saturday because of the Iron Survivor Challenge thing. I would like to see how they go about Lola Vice.
You think she just cashes it in at deadline?
Like randomly?
Yeah.
I mean, I could see her and Elektra Lopez, maybe like Lyra Valkyria, sitting ringside or whatever. And then I could see them doing a thing where Elektra Lopez and Lola Vice beat the shit out of her.
Yeah.
And then cash it in. I could see that being a possibility.
Okay. All right. Now, let me ask that question. Yeah. Is that a possibility? Because again, very new to the NXT space here. Can she just cash in this contract?
She could cash it in. Yeah. So, I mean, technically speaking, she can, right?
Okay.
She could cash it in on the women's championship in NXT. She could cash it in for the tag team championship in NXT, which she also hinted at tonight with Elektra Lopez.
Okay.
I think their whole thing will be short-lived.
You do?
I do. I think WWE is going to put her back. I think they're going to put Elektra Lopez back with Santos.
It's not a bad move.
Because Angel Garza, Humberto Carrillo, Santos Escobar, Elektra Lopez, the new Legado del Fantasma against Ray. Well, not Ray because he's injured, but Dragon Lee, the LWO basically, and Zelina Vega, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That's how I see that going down.
Yeah, it makes sense.
We got a new super chat from I Am Not Avery for $4.99. He says Tiffany Stratton needs a much longer reign. Winner on Saturday. Ango voice. I love Tiffy. Buddy, I'm just a fan.
Yeah.
Don't clown me. Guys, don't clown me in the chat. Seriously. I'm just a big fan of Tiffany Stratton. Look, I like Tiffany Stratton. I have no problem with her becoming a champion again. My only problem with Tiffany Stratton becoming champion is it goes back to what we were saying about the women's division being so stacked and so many people are doing great that, like, I like when the belt is on a fresh face.
Yeah.
Tiffany Stratton doesn't necessarily need the belt right now, but I could also see Tiffany Stratton getting called up a lot sooner than most.
Do you think that she fits it right now on the main roster?
I mean, I feel like they could put her in a position that
where it works, right?
Where it works, because Tiffany Stratton could be. I'm not saying this is good booking, but I'm saying Tiffany Stratton could be the person that literally gets called up and she's like, "You think I'm gonna waste my time with you? Damage control?"
Yeah,
like she avoids everybody. She avoids wrestling at all costs. Like,
and dude, the fans love her.
They do.
I found that out today when I was watching. I was like, "Oh my god, they're cheering for this." She's like the pretzy girl, you know what I mean? It's hilarious. It's fun
because
to watch.
Tiffany Stratton, bro, she got brought into NXT and very quickly developed. And she was one of those people where she had the gimmick, daddy's rich little daughter.
Yeah.
And I think
I remember that.
I think people kind of looked at her where it's like they almost felt like the gimmick was real because her acting skills,
Yeah.
I think people almost believed it and they were like, oh, this girl doesn't know how to wrestle. And she really is like daddy's little rich daughter who gets everything handed to her. And then I think it was very quick for people to realize, like, okay, obviously, for fuck's sake, it's an actual gimmick, right?
Yeah.
But also the fact that she goes in there and she's having great matches. And people see how fast they forget. But Tiffany Stratton and Becky Lynch at the last pay-per-view was a fucking awesome match. And Tiffany Stratton has one of the best moonsaults in wrestling. So
better than Charlotte?
I think her and Charlotte are very close with that.
All right.
They're very, very close. They're like neck and neck. And there's other people out there in AEW and WWE who do these moonsaults. And I think what people have realized is like, yo, Tiffany Stratton actually is like on that level, which is
Yeah.
cool because people saw her development and progression in real time. So
Right.
I love Tiffany Stratton. I think she could be on the main roster, but there's just so much other shit on the main roster right now. It kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. I feel like that could be a little problematic.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am not Avery. Thank you for the $4.99 super chat. Appreciate it, my friend. Guys, so many more comments coming in. I love what Denisha was asking because I did want to touch on this too. It's another focal point for the women's division. She says, Ango, what do you think of Roxanne Perez and Kiana James? And this is another sub story in the women's division. We saw it tonight. You know, Roxanne Perez is not moving on to the Iron Survivor Challenge match. Roxanne Perez and Kiana James are having this feud every single week. Obviously, WWE sees a lot in Roxanne Perez. I'm glad that they see something in Perez. I'm glad they also see something in Kiana James because Kiana James is also another talent who is very good.
Mm-hmm.
And I always believed, and I one day I got to go back and just watch my old review of it because I was talking about Fallon Henley and Kiana James. Both of them were from AEW Dark.
Okay.
They did this whole storyline in NXT together. Awesome stuff. It was very fun. Kiana James was in love with Brooks Jensen.
Yeah.
Just really fun shit, right?
Yeah, I remember
now,
that story.
It's been a lot of time since then, and Kiana James is like really impressive.
Yeah.
And I really do think AEW really, really dropped the ball with those two because these two girls got characters. They're good in the ring. Then you have Kiana James and Roxanne Perez literally feuding and just beating the hell out of each other. They got holy shit chance, bro.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
USA Network had to bleep that shit out, which, by the way, fucking A, that needs to stop.
It does, dude, because they bleep it out all the time. I'm like, they're doing these crazy moves.
You got dudes saying bitch in promos. You got Fallon Henley saying yeehaw, bitch. And then, like, holy shit chants get censored
out.
and the other stuff don't.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
That's a little side note. But Roxanne Perez and Kiana James is awesome. Their match will be culminating. Their feud will culminate at Deadline in a steel cage match. Again, this is one of those stories where you got something between Lola. Listen to how crazy the women's division is. Let's talk about perspective.
Okay.
Lola Vice and Lyra Valkyria, something there, right?
Yep.
You got something with the Iron Survivor Challenge with all of those women in the match. Lash Legend, Fallon Henley, Tiffany Stratton, Kalani Jordan, right? Blair Davenport. Yep. You have something there. Now you have something with Nikita Lyons and Blair Davenport.
Yep.
You got Kiana James and Roxanne Perez. And I feel like I'm missing one more. There's like another storyline with the women. And I can't, it's not hitting my mind right now. At some point I'll think of it and I'll bring it up. But
they were playing into something. What was I can't remember her name. Who did Lola Vice face?
Oh, Tatum Paxley.
Paxley.
Yeah, so you have the Tatum Paxley Lyra Valkyria stuff. Oh, and by the way, Cora Jade's probably returning Saturday.
Yep.
You have all these different stories happening on NXT television. Billy, you used to love AEW, and I think you still love AEW a little bit. But let's just talk about the women's division in that aspect. We have all of these stories happening, which, by the way, NXT is a 2-hour show.
Yeah.
2-hour show.
Yep.
And you got more women being featured on NXT than you do on Dynamite, Rampage, and Collision combined.
Yeah. I mean, it shows you where priorities lie.
Oh. David Decker, Ariana Grace, I Am Not Avery, JC Jane. Yep. So then you also have to factor in Thea Hale within the Chase University, which we're going to talk about Chase U in a minute.
Yep.
But all of these stories happening in women's wrestling on Wednesday nights. Saturday Deadline, women will play a major part into the pay-per-view. Why the fuck can't AEW do the same thing?
I think the importance here, my apologies.
You're good, brother. I will switch it to single cam.
Thank you.
While you get that figured out.
Yep. We're good now. My thinking here, why can't AEW get it right, is strictly because priorities, right?
Yeah.
Priorities, they matter. I don't think AEW is prioritizing. I don't think they're prioritizing this women's division the way that they should be. And I think also utilizing the men and having them play a factor into these women's stories. Obviously, Chase U being one of those stories where you kind of have this side story going on. And then earlier you had Nathan Frazier and Axiom Wrestling, and then you bring out the Iron Survivor women's. I think you're playing into everything that's going on, and it makes a lot of sense. I think it's good for NXT to continue to do that, and it makes that women's division feel really strong.
Yeah.
But AEW is just not getting it right, and they're missing the point. They're missing how they could utilize the men and the women at the same time. Again, kind of side subbing the story. You know what I mean?
When the chaos from the women literally take over a match that's happening,
Yeah.
it tells you that the women are as equally as important.
They're important. Exactly. That's the point that I'm trying to make. It's these women on NXT, and not even just NXT, even on the main roster. They feel important. They feel like there's something for them to do.
Yeah.
And that needs to be the case all of the time. You know what I'm saying?
Would you agree or disagree? Because I feel like in the past, and I'm asking this because I feel like in the past, WWE only did things with women for PR reasons. Like the Evolution pay-per-view, for example, the Mae Young Classic. I felt like at that time, I felt like they, in a sense, kind of they would do things to make themselves look good for PR purposes. I think Shawn Michaels' approach is like, we got a kick-ass roster. I'm going to fucking use them.
Yeah. Yeah. Why wouldn't you use them? What's the reasoning, right? And AEW has such a strong roster too. Why wouldn't you use them? Yes, I was a AEW fanboy for a long time. Not going to sit here and lie. I've talked about it.
No, for sure. He's talked about it on his YouTube channel at Billy TKO.
But what the hell, dude? I'm going to go out and say, what the fuck? You are utilizing these women so wrong. And
who said you could swear on my stream, bro?
I just did. Sorry, bro.
Guys.
Don't light me up in the comments. Don't light me up in the comments.
Somebody tell me why Billy thinks he could swear on my stream. No, I'm kidding, bro.
That's awesome.
He's new here. We got to get him comfortable, man.
Yeah. I see how they mess with you.
Oh, I love it.
Scares me a little bit.
Don't be scared, buddy. They don't bite. They're all good people. I love the people here.
It's all that matters at that.
We have a great community, which, by the way, if you guys aren't in the Discord server, get your asses in there.
Join the Discord, man.
No, I think it's crazy though. NXT literally, like, they're in the boat right now where, even, man, some of these people, okay, like we could talk about Ava Raine.
Yeah.
Like I think Ava Raine, and I hate saying this, bro, because I feel so bad to say this because anybody who knows me knows I don't take personal shots or like personal grips with people. Everybody can improve. Everybody's good to a certain degree. They all fit their roles pretty well.
Yeah.
I talk about the booking and stuff, and like, I don't know what the hell is happening with Ava Raine. Like, she kind of got dropped from the Schism thing. That whole thing died. Joe Gacy's like going through a midlife crisis right now. But Ava Raine is the one who's making matches. And like, they didn't really explain that. She's green. She's very green.
Very.
And I say this respectfully. Like, she is the Rock's daughter. There's a lot of pressure on Ava. I like the fact that they're just, they're not forcing it down your throat, but they haven't explained the whole thing with her making decisions like for matches and stuff. But even that, they're at least putting her on fucking TV and giving her something to do.
Can I chime in on that?
No, you can't, Billy. You cannot chime in on anything on this podcast, bro.
Bro, I'm chiming in.
Okay. Damn, bro.
So listen, Ava, what you just said, not having or telling the story, I think they're kind of telling the story as it's happening. I think the story is that she's just accidentally doing these things. If you pay attention, she's like, well, I guess I'm the one doing it now.
Yeah.
I think that's the story within. Well, I have no idea how I got this position, but Here I am, and I'm doing it. She's saying it. That's the story.
I would like to see them explain it. I know at one point they had her go into Shawn Michaels' office. I think it was like a month ago or 2 months ago.
Okay.
But like nothing was ever like formally announced or whatever.
Okay.
Now I will say this: back in ROH, when Sinclair Broadcasting owned ROH, they had Maria Kanellis kind of like the women's division, like GM type of thing. They didn't use that word, but
that's what
she ran the women's division.
Right. That's what it was.
In Impact, Gail Kim is kind of like the same in the sense, right?
Yeah.
I have no problem with them kind of doing that with NXT.
That's my thing. And I'm starting to see a lot of hints from TNA to NXT.
Yeah.
Am I wild for saying that?
No.
Hopefully the chat doesn't light me up for that one.
No, but I will tell you, just not to like cut you off.
Yeah.
Jeremy Borash is involved in NXT, and Jeremy Borash used to be TNA.
Yeah,
they have some people from TNA, and
right.
But anyways, continue.
It does make sense because obviously you have the contract again. It kind of feels like option C. You just go cash it in, right? And then obviously what you're talking about with the women's and stuff like that. It feels like there's little hints that they've taken from TNA and brought over to NXT, which I like because especially back in the day, obviously I was 2009, 2000, 2010, I did watch TNA. You know what I mean? So seeing those things, it's like, okay, it's a callback to that. I enjoy it. I do.
Let me ask you.
Yeah.
Justin Kennington dropped a $2 super chat, and he says, do you like the Joe Gacy stuff? It's different.
Yeah, it is. How do you feel about it?
I hate comparisons.
Okay.
Especially when the comparison has to be made with Bray Wyatt.
Yeah.
Bray Wyatt, arguably, not arguably, man. I think I could with full confidence say how much Bray Wyatt became my favorite.
Yeah. You were a strong believer in Bray Wyatt.
Strong believer from NXT all the way,
to
from
the end.
Swamp character Bray Wyatt all the way to the Fiend. Even when people hated the Fiend, I said, guys, it's fucking amazing. Like I loved Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, you stood on business with that one.
I stood on business. Now let me say something.
Yeah.
Joe Gacy is not Bray Wyatt.
No, not by any stretch.
But I feel like in a sense, they are trying to have a cryptic character on television that slightly has a hint of Bray Wyatt.
And I don't think that's a problem.
I don't. But I have a feeling that WWE will do what WWE does. They did it with Finn Balor. They did it with other guys. The supernatural, dark, cryptic stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes gets rejected.
If it's forced too much, it gets rejected.
The Joe Gacy stuff is interesting to me because it's not necessarily on that level.
Yeah.
But I'm almost fearful that it could get to that level. And I'm also fearful because the whole dark, cryptic type of shit, that was a Vince McMahon thing.
Yeah, with the Fiend and shit like that.
Vince McMahon loved the stuff like The Undertaker. And I love it too.
Right. It works sometimes.
I don't know if that's the route they're going to go with Joe Gacy. Joe Gacy is giving me a little bit of hint of the Bray Wyatt stuff. Joe Gacy is definitely giving me a little bit of that feel.
Yeah.
And I don't want WWE to go too far with it, if it makes sense.
It does.
Because I don't want him to be compared to Bray. First of all, I think it's a recipe for disaster for Joe Gacy. He's a fucking awesome wrestler, bro. I was watching Joe Gacy on the Indies. I was watching Joe Gacy go into NXT and doing the stuff with fucking Parker Boudreaux,
that shit was cool. Yeah.
Like I seen this stuff and I like him a lot. And I like the Joe Gacy stuff to a certain extent. I just don't know if I like where it could be headed.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's me kind of just assuming things based on WWE's
Yeah.
track record.
Right.
But I do think there's a lot of potential with Joe Gacy. And I do want to put out this right here. Richard Martinez actually responded. Joe Gacy's storyline feels like filler. He's targeting no one or nothing. He needs direction. I wonder where this is turning. And I might be a little too premature in judging the Joe Gacy stuff because I like the dude. I think that's part of the intrigue is like, okay, he is not targeting anybody. He's not really doing anything.
Right.
He does need direction. It's either going to be really, really fucking good or it's going to be really bad and there's nothing.
No in between. Yeah, there's no in between.
There's nothing. See, what's cool about Joe Gacy is he's a great wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
So if you let him wrestle, people...
He's great at it.
He's good at it.
Right.
But I'm just scared. It's like when Finn Balor versus Roman Reigns and Finn Balor was at the he was on the ground and he's like the heartbeat sound effect, you know.
Yeah, I know. It's the whole, like you said, Vince. That was Vince's thing. Vince loved it. There's always that one dark character, you know what I mean?
I don't know if this is going to be where it's headed, but that's my only thing is I'm fearful for where it could be headed. I'm hoping. I'm hoping. Guys, I'm trying to get rid of this cold, man. Bear with me. We grind it out here, bro. We do this anyway.
Really getting it done.
But I do feel like the Joe Gacy thing, like I'm just scared of where it could be headed based on the history of WWE. With that being said, I give everything a chance. Yeah. I do want to see where his direction goes.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Justin, again for your super chat. Appreciate it. We did get another one this time from Richard Martinez for $2. He says, "Could a returning Uncle Howdy recruit Gacy?" Guys, I'm gonna be honest, man. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think it's happening.
I don't want to see it.
From my understanding, it was something that was talked about. From my understanding, it was something that was potentially going to happen with Uncle Howdy Wrestling. And then also, from my understanding, WWE pulled the plug on the idea. Whether that's a Bo Dallas decision, WWE decision, whatever it may be, I don't know. Here's what I will say. What made Bray Wyatt so incredible was that a lot of it came from Bray Wyatt himself. Yeah. Wyndham Rotunda did a lot of that on his own. And I think having Uncle Howdy, having Bo Dallas there, it allows for the family to get paid. I will say that is a benefit. Yeah. Because WWE can continue selling merchandise and still giving a kickback to the family. I also think at some point WWE will be doing a Hall of Fame induction for Bray Wyatt.
I think we'll see it this year.
I think it's very possible.
Yeah.
So I can understand the positives of it. But if WWE is not doing it and Bo Dallas is the guy, he's like, I don't want to do it. I'm not able to, whatever it may be. I feel like in a sense, I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I don't also want to see Joe Gacy become the new quote unquote Bray Wyatt.
Right.
Like if you're going to be done with it, be done with it. I'm not saying you can't do a dark cryptic character or anything.
Just try to separate it.
But I know even when Bray Wyatt was in Schism, or Bray Wyatt, when Joe Gacy was in Schism, excuse me, I know that was one of those things where they were
tie back compared to the comparison.
It does.
Yeah.
They got to figure out a way for Joe Gacy to not be compared to him.
Absolutely.
That's kind of how I look at it.
I agree.
And maybe we'll get something by Deadline. And also, you know, one thing I do want to point out about Deadline, thank you, Richard, for the super chat. One thing I really want to point out about NXT Deadline is that Braun Breaker is in this Iron Survivor Challenge match.
Yeah.
Braun Breaker is the reason why Von Wagner currently isn't on TV.
Yep.
I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I just want to say I feel like Von Wagner needs to be repackaged with a mask. I think they're going to make Von Wagner a modern day version of Kane.
That'd be sick.
Something similar, black mask, you know, that type of thing. They did the whole head injury.
Yeah,
Von Wagner,
right here. Yeah.
Von Wagner came back and he's having head problems. I think that's a story that needs to continue being developed.
Yeah.
They didn't do
Maybe
that
that's
last.
why I know. Sorry to cut you. I know that's when we talked earlier about Braun going up. I think that's why you don't call him up right now, is to continue that.
So I'm hoping maybe by deadline they do something with that
I
because that
hope
would
so.
be cool.
Yeah.
Because then it logically explains why Von Wagner was off TV.
TV, right?
And
Exactly.
then it also, because he was off TV, back on, and then off TV again.
Mm-hmm.
But then it also explains Braun Breaker losing the Iron Survivor Challenge match.
Right. Exactly.
We got another super chat from Judgment Day, Mike Harper. Appreciate the super chat. Judgment Day, Mike Harper says, Wendy Chu to go back to being Teen Shah. So here's the thing. There's obviously a developing story with Boa and Dante Chen. We talked about this last week on the stream. Wendy Chu is currently out with an injury. I would love this to happen. I think it's a better gimmick than the sleepy pajama onesie.
Yeah.
I love Karen Q. I told you guys this last week. Big fan. She's really awesome. Karen Q became Tien Shah.
Yeah.
And then she became Wendy Chu. Just a badass wrestler. And she's really good at the gimmick. She lives the gimmick. But I see NXT evolving as well a little bit further from 2.0.
Yep.
And Wendy Chu was a 2.0 gimmick. And
right.
The Tien Shah gimmick is one that actually works extremely well in the main roster.
Yeah.
And maybe they want to do something with Xia Li. Maybe they want to do something with Boa and Dante Chen. You go back to having that faction and really give it a shot. I think it could be a very big win.
It could work.
It could work, And the thing is, that character is kind of dark and cryptic as well.
Yeah.
And we're just talking about Joe Gacy having a dark, cryptic character.
Yeah.
You don't want to have too many characters that are too dark and too cryptic, So I think it could be fun. I think it's more ideal for Wendy Chu as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of great stuff though.
Yeah.
Lot of great stuff tonight in NXT. And guys, honestly, I feel like the NXT deadline build, we said in the beginning, but it was kind of underwhelming.
Yeah.
But now, today, it went up for sure. The hype is there. And I'm excited about that, man. I'm excited about NXT deadline. It's taking place this Saturday. I hope they deliver some good stuff, man.
So do I. I'm very excited for the main event.
There's one last topic that I want to cover on.
Okay.
Guys, this is our final topic. So if you have any super chats, anything that you guys want to, become members, get your shout outs, drop them now. Billy,
bring it on.
WWE NXT needs to go on the road.
Whoa. Yeah. Really bad.
But I don't know if they're ready to go on the road.
Why do you say?
Here's the thing.
Okay.
When I say go on the road, I'm not talking about them doing 20,000 seats, 17,000 seats.
No.
But as much as I love NXT, and we kind of touched on this last week, the show has completely surpassed the NXT 2.0 era.
Yeah, that small venue.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not doing it.
It was done because of COVID.
Yeah, and you understand why it was done.
Yeah. But I look at this roster, which, by the way, it's heavy on characters.
Mm-hmm.
It is heavy on characters. But I look at the Dijaks, the Eddie Thorpes, Dragon Lee. I look at Axiom, Nathan Frazier. I look at Kalani Jordan. I look at all of these different individuals. They can all wrestle, bro.
I think that's how you create a third brand.
They can all wrestle. This brand has a lot of good wrestling.
Yeah.
And I think we have gotten to a point with NXT where, truth be told, that when I watch it, the only thing that fucking kills me about watching it is seeing the orange and the white and the PC.
Yep.
And, I look at this show as it's very storyline centric. Their storytelling is a fucking absolute banger right now.
Yep.
I think there's a lot of great in that regard. but I imagine if this show had a little bit more presentation similar to NXT from 2012 to like 2018, that type of presentation,
Yeah, the kind of like grunge.
more grungy, bro.
Yeah. I
Just a
think
little
that's
bit
what it's
more
missing.
grungy.
Yeah. Because right now it feels a little too poppy. It feels like the main roster with the lights and the colors and everything like that. I think that's what always separated NXT was it was a little bit more grungy.
And the fact that they have so many badass wrestlers and badass storylines and shit,
You can get grungy.
I feel like they could, man.
Yeah. I think them going on the road would actually be a great idea. You know, having Raw the night before and maybe staying in the same town or near it. You know what I mean? And doing a small venue. I don't think it's a bad idea.
A small venue. I mean, look, this might sound crazy, but AEW Collision did less than 2,500 tickets for Collision this past weekend. This upcoming show for today was just around 2,000 tickets.
Yeah.
I think NXT outdraws AEW Collision in that regard.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
So even if you're doing like 3,000 seats,
mm-hmm.
I think they can do it.
Yeah.
And if you keep doing those bigger crowds and you're getting outside of the Performance Center bubble,
mm-hmm.
you got to do the right markets, obviously.
I was about to say, you pick your market.
Yeah, you got to be very careful. But I think if you're WWE, if you could package Raw and NXT together,
yeah, it's not a bad move.
In some capacity. I don't know how you would do it, but I just think it'd be nice. I love NXT. I think that the show has been awesome, but
yeah,
we're talking about all these women's feuds and potential guys becoming champions and potential people getting called up. And I love that the pay-per-view deadline is going to be moved up to outside of the Performance Center. I love that they're doing those things.
Yeah. Because they did it with like Vengeance and stuff like that too.
And they do a great job on those crowds, by the way. So
yeah,
that's just like my only thing. I want to just kind of throw that out there.
Yeah,
get the fuck out of the PC.
Let's leave.
These guys and girls are all going to be big stars in the WWE anyways.
Again, I think that's how you make the third brand.
I love it. I love it. Billy,
yeah. What's up?
Overall, out of scale 1 to 10, what would you say you felt about NXT tonight?
7.5.
7.5?
Yeah. 7.5.
And how did you come to that conclusion, Billy?
Just, again, my little own nits and picks of it's so hard for me to get past the cheesiness side of things.
Yeah.
One thing we didn't talk about was like Roxanne Perez and how she was just sitting right next to her. And I was like, all right, I got it. But yeah, that's my only little nitpick that I have.
Yeah. I'm going to give the show an 8 out of 10. From a storytelling perspective and actually booking decisions, really, it's a 10 out of 10. But in terms of like overall, I get that. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say 8 out of 10.
The booking decisions were great.
Shout out to Shawn Michaels, bro.
He's making it make sense and he's doing really good.
I was always scared that Shawn Michaels would fuck up NXT.
He did not.
Thankfully, I can confidently say that. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the WWE NXT live post show. We just talk about wrestling. I don't know. We don't have to have structure on these live streams. What we need to do is just engage with you guys. And I love reading your guys' comments. I love hearing different thoughts and opinions. It's funny. Billy, I was hoping you would challenge me with certain things, but I think
it's hard to challenge when there is a lot of agreement, right?
With a lot of things in NXT.
Yeah, that's the thing. Other places, different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Raw, AEW, SmackDown, we disagree with a couple things over there.
Yeah.
But here, it's the developmental side, right?
Yeah.
They have one job. Their job is to get themselves over, tell the stories. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's hard to disagree with that.
Yeah.
Everything lines up,
I get it, my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, Billy is on YouTube at BillyTKO. He just started covering wrestling stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of cool opinion content there. So make sure you guys check it out. Of course, you can follow me here on YouTube. If you're watching live on X, you're probably watching me live on X because you follow me on X. But if you're not following me on X, you can follow me at Ango PW. And ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our live stream. Thank you all for showing up.
Yes,
Round
sir.
of applause.
Yes, sir.
Cool. All right. I think we'll be back for Dynamite. Maybe.
Yeah, I'm down.
We'll see about that. We'll see. All right, guys. Appreciate you all coming through. We will see you guys next time.